Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first show of the second Nottingham Puppet Festival, and we are absolutely delighted to be here tonight. So Nottingham Puppet Festival is a partnership between the Theatre Royal and Concert Hall and City Arts and Nottingham Trent University. And between us, we explore all shapes and sizes of puppetry back and forth. So this year has presented so many challenges, but it's also taught us how to be resourceful and how to try new things. So tonight we're introducing Ahau Marionetas from Madeira, Portugal. A traditional marionette company, more used to playing to a live audience on the street, they've created for us the most beautiful film of their show, The Dancers. And please join us afterwards for a live Q&A with the artist to find out more about their world. And you're very welcome and enjoy the show. Thank you.
2.400 contos de prémios no grande... A nova fechadura de 4 trancas e chave tipo cofre transforma-a numa verdadeira fortaleza.
João Mário vai bater, bateu a maneira curta lá para Rafael Guerreiro.
Tosse e rouquidão, Mentolax. Constipação curada, tosse acabada, Mentolax. Comprar usado exige cuidado.
Very serious.
Jordânia propõe nas Nações Unidas o reconhecimento.
Very serious. Very serious. Very serious. Very serious.
Thank you so much. Absolutely joyous start to the festival. Thank you very much. So I'll introduce some friends around the camera now. So we have our artists from Ahau, Marionetas, Mauricia and Argenis. So welcome to Nottingham, virtually welcome to Nottingham. And also we have Sean Myatt from Nottingham Trent University, who's going to host a Q&A with us. And we also have Joe, who's one of our participating artists here at the festival, sharing a show on Sunday, Charlie Comet and the Magic of the Attic, but who's conveniently from Lisbon, so we brought Joe along just to help with some language support should we need it. So welcome Joe, welcome Sean, and very welcome to Ahau Marionetas.
Hi, thank you for inviting us to this festival, to Nottingham Puppet Festival, and to you, Alison, and Sean,
and Joe.
And Joe, thank you very much. And thank you all for watching our show today. So we will speak in Portuguese because it's better for us. I'm sorry for that.
You're doing very well in English before. I'm still thinking I'm rooting for you there. Thank you ever so much for this. It was a real joy to share the show with us. And I know because we've sort of met before as part of the puppet club that we run with Alison. And so it's just a real nice moment because we didn't quite get the moment to see your work. So thank you very much for sharing it for us because it's such a real treat. Now you're back in Madeira. And it's just really nice that we can all still be part of the same family in this sort of getting used to these new times when we can actually share these things online. And I think we've spoken before about how much more puppetry has been online, and it's worked brilliantly. We will want to still be together as part of an assembly one day when we're all can visit that. But thank you very much. It's so exciting to see the work. I mean, I've got lots of questions. I always do. I mean, if anybody else is listening now who's got any questions, then put them in the chat and we'll try and facilitate that if I know what button to push to try and liberate them. But anyway, I sort of wanted to start really just to say how beautiful that is, that whole movement, and it's getting behind the complications, the technical side, which take away the beauty sometimes if we know all of that, but I like that. And I'm just amazed. It's quite, I mean, sort of as an art form, 5,000 years, I think puppetry goes back, but I think the marionette is more sort of, I sort of see it as more as a European, funnily enough, sort of tradition in a way. And I'm a puppeteer too, so I'm always interested by it, but I've never been able to touch it. I think I find direct control a lot easier. So I'm looking at it and go, how did they do that? And it's about the movement, and it's not just the movement, it's how do you stop, because a string is constantly moving, you know. So I just want to know a bit about that. Why did you choose string, I suppose, as one of your types of methods of puppetry?
Os fios começa por gostar da maquinaria, da engenharia, não é simplesmente as marionetas de luvas que são manipuladas com a mão. Pronto, a cena dos fios já mete outras engrenagens que eu adoro essa parte.
Yeah, they're saying the love of strings comes from the love of machinery and engineering, and exactly appreciating that part over the direct control.
So who's the physics champion in the household then between Argenis and Maricia? Great. It's to do about the leg movement, because I mean I know, okay, it's difficult to make a swing and make it stop, but it's also you're pulling a string but just swinging the legs as well, and that's sometimes just fascinating because you're not actually pulling a string, it's just by lifting the puppet up that it swings. It's just beautiful sort of movements, and I mean it's just how do you know when you've got it right?
Isto já tem a ver com a experiência que temos de horas e horas e horas de fazer espetáculos de rua. Ou seja,
hours and hours of street shows.
Yeah.
A prática faz a perfeição.
Yeah, it's just practice makes perfect. A direct translation from Portuguese. It's an expression in both languages. But yeah, just experience in time.
E também tem a ver com a tua emoção que tu passas ao boneco. E então parece que o boneco faz parte de mim, eu faço parte do boneco. Então eu tento, por isso é que eu mexo muito quanto não devia, não é? Não sei se isso se calhar não é muito bem visto pelas artes, mas eu sinto que eu tenho que mexer, porque é como se fosse aquele boneco. Então as articulações dele, eu sinto que eu vou dançar também com o boneco.
Yeah, she's saying that the marionette is me and I am the marionette. And, you know, adding a bit like, that's why I move the way that the marionette moves, even though maybe it's not professionally the best, you know, because I need to feel in my body in order to feel through the string, and to feel, the more I feel in my body, the more the puppet feels in itself.
But then the complication is that you're miniaturizing that movement, aren't you? Because obviously humans doing one scale of movement, and I thought Argenis was moving more than Maricia, funnily enough. I thought, but yeah, you've got to miniaturize that, which is, again, I mean, that's the sort of engineering behind it. We'll go back to the other element, which I suppose people just to understand the whole aspect of the idea of artisan, because obviously you're not only moving the puppet, you've designed it, you've made it, the scenery, the words. So I think just a bit more questions, I suppose, about that tradition that you're involved in, and a little bit as well, because I know, Marissa, you're talking about the details on the set and everything, really. So how do you go about starting a project like that?
Este projeto vai acontecendo aos poucos, vai se transformando. Começou o início dos bailarinos, foi uma peça que tivemos nas escolas, aqui na Ilha da Madeira, e pronto, depois adaptamos para a rua e já estamos adaptando outra vez para, pronto, outro género de ambientes, de apresentação.
So they send the project, it's done bit by bit. So this particular project and the dances were first conceived for a series of school presentations and school performances. And then from that, they were adapted onto street performances. And then from the street performances, then transformed into movie for the festival. So it's the layers of work, you know, and the different phases the work goes through that then eventually, you know, pans out to what you've seen.
Okay. Yeah. We've got a question that's come through on the chat, actually, which is about, do you film yourself and then watch and learn? Or is this the first time that you filmed yourself?
Sometimes nós treinamos, pronto, sem ser filmados, e depois sim, quando já temos a peça concluída, já é filmado para conseguirmos ver realmente os movimentos, ou com o espelho à frente.
Mas vocês praticam com o espelho e depois, no fim, filmam para outras pessoas?
Não para outras pessoas, para nosso...
Para ver se funciona.
Se funciona, se está bem, não está.
Yeah, so practice, sorry, I was just clarifying, practice is done with a mirror, actually. And then the filming comes afterwards. So first it's the mirror in order to figure out each individual movement. And then at the end, once they get a run, then they film it so they can watch it back and appreciate the full run. But the actual rehearsal is in front of a mirror.
Thank you.
Going back a bit about the tradition.
And thank you, Jet Propelled, for your question. Thank you.
Thank you. Going back a bit more, because there are traditional dress, and I know it's sort of traditional sort of houses and things like that. What the choice about you? Because I know you've done other stories which are more about fairy tales and sort of more mythical stories. But what I suppose why this particular going back to, because you've also used these quite a lot, the traditional look and dress.
Isto porque começamos, nem sei muito bem, começou com os dois personagens, que é do folclore típico madeirense, e pronto, o pessoal do folclore dança. E entretanto surgiu a ideia de dançarem outras danças, e para este festival, que também tem um bocado a ver com os tempos de quarentena de hoje, destes últimos tempos, que é eles próprios, o João e a Maria, só podiam dar aquela voltinha ao redor de casa e pronto. E é através das artes que conseguem um bocado viajar do isolamento da casa.
Porque as músicas que eles ouvem na rádio são todas músicas que são tradicionais, a não ser a balada dos Eagles, não é? O resto são tudo músicas tradicionais e que faz eles viajarem para outros países.
Qualquer coisa,
sorry, desculpem, já have demorado bocadinho depois as coisas. Sorry, because I've got to bop in or else I forget. Yeah, so the original idea was taken out of folkloric dances from Madeira specifically. And only with the development of the project, then they decided to start getting them to dance other things. So in the beginning, the first tune you heard is a very particular Portuguese tune, and it's very particular of the folkloric dances of the particular region. And then particularly through the development, then they started dancing other stuff, and especially, which bar the ballad from the Eagles, everything else is this kind of international and very particularly international tunes. Now, especially with quarantine, that's when the idea came of they are in one house traveling via dance. And they are in one house exploring everything that they wish they could be exploring through this kind of different cultural identity of dance.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Joe.
I think that's something that we can all relate to at the moment, that, our lives are sort of have changed so dramatically. So we find new ways to explore the world, and actually looking at things like this and kind of meeting people in our little boxes is as much of an adventure as we're going to get, and it is an adventure because we don't know where we're going to go and what we're going to see or who we're going to meet.
And kitchen dancing, that's been a big thing.
E também queria referir que o vídeo, as músicas que não são na rádio, que estão ao longo do filme, são músicas de uma banda muito conhecida aqui na Madeira, que é a Banda de Além, que é a música tradicional madeirense.
Onde a Marícia é baixo.
Onde eu toquei durante muitos anos, vai uns 20 anos, e portanto achei que era perfeito, porque se identifica com a minha pessoa, com os bonecos, com tudo aqui, com tudo que é o filme.
Yeah. Pode só dizer o nome da banda outra vez?
Banda de Além.
De Além. Yes, Mauricio was saying that actually some of the tunes that you're hearing are from a band called Banda de Além, which is a band she used to play for many years, double bass, I believe. that do particular tunes from this particular area, and they're very well known within Madeira, and it's very particular of the area. Yeah, and very close to their hearts, obviously, because of the direct connection of sharing members. You know.
I've had another question come in on the mobile technology. So hi to David Longford out there. So he's why did you choose Hotel California as the sort of piece of music that's not local?
It's just por causa do início, que é mesmo curto, e o rádio interromper quando começa a batida, que vai entrar mesmo a melodia.
E também porque como nós fizemos muita rua, nós apercebemos que essa música todas as pessoas gostam, e então paravam para perceber, porque chamava a atenção. E como nós gostamos da música, conciliamos o útil e o agradável.
Yeah, so the first section is about actually just the duration and the ability to tune in directly into the point where people recognize, and then being able to cut out before the lyrics come in. So it's perfect for this kind of like cut out of the radio. And the second thing that was added is that because it's instantly recognizable, and particularly coming from that street theater background and the idea that this came from the street and was developed for the street, recognizability is what's going to make people stop and what's going to make people listen. And, you know, Hotel California from the Eagles is very recognizable.
Yes.
Anywhere you go.
Yeah.
It's really
the people is like, they want to hear the music.
I suppose that's what's
Sometimes the
really
music stay for the puppets.
interesting about developing a narrative, isn't it? According to how your audience move. Because I have seen shows that have been developed from the street and then gone into the studio. And it's interesting how, you know, because you've always got a sort of a passing public that might catch a bit, might catch a middle, might catch an end. And I suppose, yeah, there is a sort of, and that's what's, because it was a long time dancing. It's quite a lot of hard puppeteering going on to keep that puppet going. You know, that's, you might, in a story on stage, you might, that puppet might only do a fifth of all the actions it's done in telling its story, but you've put it through its paces by making it move so many different ways. And it's amazing how the versatility on the different songs, there'll be a different action and a different, especially the hips were great. I mean, I was saying they just got some really, I think for the ladies, yeah, movements and things were really lovely in the feet. I think one of my favorite parts as well was her getting out of the cart. It's just the way the one foot came over and the other one. I thought that's it's just the believability, and I think all the little details that you've got on set and things like that, because we know that the puppet does all these things that humans do, but it sort of links it in a way that, oh yes, they're great. What I was going to ask you a bit more about was audiences, and I know we spoke a bit about that before, about how they receive your shows, you know, street shows or different, if you tell us what type of situation, how they maybe receive your work.
Na rua tem sido espetacular, porque e depois nós somos autodidatas nisto, e a rua foi uma grande escola para nós. Pronto, se quer vem da reação, o tempo das músicas, que se é muita gente que está a circular não pode ser tão comprido, e a reação das pessoas, principalmente das crianças, já se sabe que elas adoram, mas dos adultos é fascinante como eles riem-se, eles cantam, eles dizem adeus para a marioneta, eles falam com as marionetas. Epá, isso, e depois é ter aquelas rodas gigantes. Estivemos a fazer rua em Óbidos e na Ponte Romana em Tavira. E bloqueávamos a estrada com pessoas, ninguém circulava de cima, de baixo para cima, completo, tudo lá a ver.
Wow. So basically they were, sorry, let me just do this beginning. So basically they're saying that they're essentially self-taught, and the street has been, you know, the greatest school. in terms of understanding. On busy streets, the songs are shorter because you're going to get people for a lesser amount of time. You know, if you have less people walking by and it's kind of slower, then you can have longer tunes. You know, understanding most of all, and the thing you learn the most from is people's reactions, because obviously little kids, they're going to have the reactions that they're going to have. They always engage, but you know, it didn't read well when you start getting adults and they start saying hi and bye. And you know, they told a great story when they were in Óbidos and in Tavira, where they were playing on a bridge and the street was kind of blocked with people watching the show, you know? Yeah, I don't know if you want to add anything, because I kind of cut there, or else I would forget things.
Well, I suppose that's the beauty of any sort of theatre or puppetry. It basically adapts, sort of what we do very well. So even if we can't go outside and be with people, then we find another way, like you have with the film. And I know you've spent a lot of time with working with the film work as well, a bit more this time. It's all we all have. We've all had the discussion about how to. I was talking with Alison Dudley the other day about how do you continue as an artist when we're all locked in and we can't have shows and things. And you've found this new expression. Have you used film before?
Yes. Na escola eu estive na escola de artes e já pronto, estive a fazer animação em stop motion e já tinha aquele gosto por animar objetos e figuras. Pronto, e depois isto vai passo a passo. Entretanto, fiz algumas curtas-metragens, fizemos videoclipes para bandas, por isso esta já é uma linguagem que já é familiar.
Mas não com marionetas.
Não com marionetas, sim. Mas pronto, já é uma linguagem...
Yeah, so his background's actually in stop motion. He did art school and he worked a lot in stop motion and animation. And that before they did this, they've done a series of music videos for different bands, never with marionettes, but with other kind of forms of, you know, bringing life to objects. And that's where the passion came, then translated into marionettes, but started in stop motion animation.
Because there's obviously film and TV, because I know one of our other people in the sort of steering group for the Puppet Festival, David, he's very keen on the Thunderbird, so I think he likes the string. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's a new film out, quite a while back, called Strings. I think it came from Scandinavia.
Strings, yeah.
It'd be nice for it to come back more. And I think with the quality of your work, you should say, you know, we should really be having a whole telenovela on Madeira TV, you know.
Yeah.
Which would be really exciting.
Yeah.
Great. I've had another question just through the chat, just in relation to you, Sean, actually. So what's your relationship to puppetry? Just because you obviously are very knowledgeable in terms of what you're asking. So just...
I can't pull that string.
Have you ever done it before?
Yeah, I've been doing it for 35 years. Like Janice, I studied in sort of design and fine arts, and have been a puppeteer for 35 years, and now have come back to the place that taught me theatre design, and I presently teach there, and I'm part of the team with Alison and David, who sort of looking at the Puppet Festival. So yeah, I'm very passionate about it, and I sort of teach it as well. So, but it's hard to keep your muscles going with puppetry. If you don't keep them going, there is an element. You lose that strength. So they need quite a lot of weird sort of muscles, I think, puppeteers, don't they?
Yes, indeed. Great. So yeah, thank you very much. I think I'm not sure if there's any more questions or anything else. Chat, or if there's more things. Janice and Mauricio, do you want to say more? Have you got more to share? Or
não sei, o nosso site, our website is there. Já está nos comentários, alguém já pôs. Ok.
Queremos agradecer mesmo muito. Ficámos com muita pena de não podermos ter ido aí presencialmente, porque nós tivemos a ver uma temporada em Nottingham e pronto, e achamos aquilo fantástico. As pessoas são super simpáticas. Já tive várias partes, noutras partes na Inglaterra, mas realmente Nottingham para mim é especial. E fiquei com muita pena, mas ainda bem que existe a tecnologia e podemos estar aqui todos. Para mim foi importante estar cá. Obrigada.
Yeah, that was just a big thanks to the festival, saying, you know, they've done seasons in Nottingham before, you know, seeing the program and everything. It looks amazing. They were really sad they couldn't be here presentially. You know, and even in other places in England and in Nottingham specifically, we've also spent some time here and everyone was super nice. But God bless technology and that we can still, you know, have this connection and talk to each other. But yeah, it's just one big thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. And, you know, we're on such a steep learning curve with all of this, but it does make us, as I was saying, it does make us resourceful and try new things and make new work and explore things. So yeah, it's made us be creative in its own way, I suppose.
Yeah.
So what's next, Marisia, Janice, for hopefully now we can come out and sort of celebrate a bit more? Is there any things on the horizon?
Things on the horizon estamos uma peça medieval, estamos a começar a construir.
We start.
Ooh,
We start.
yes.
Is the king?
Argenis.
Argenis.
The Greek philosopher who lived in a barrel.
No, it's just the king.
And so this is a new show you're making now?
Yes, this is a new.
Is it for the street or for schools or for theatres? It's for everything. You can
More medieval festival and yes, schools, obviously in the streets.
Because you use mainly the shows, because we go back to asking more questions, but you use less words, don't you? And this was a sort of deliberate reason, wasn't it, for you as a group?
What? I don't understand.
Ele estava só a dizer que vocês não usam muitas palavras no vosso trabalho e se foi uma coisa deliberada na construção?
Não, eu tenho preferência em que não haja diálogo. Torna um bocado mais complicado. Não é complicado, é mais... tem que ser mais bem trabalhado porque não há diálogo. Mas por mim, eu gosto disso porque depois o espectador imagina a sua maneira. Nós temos a história e idealizamos, mas depois eles é que completam e têm sempre as versões deles, que eu acho isso fascinante.
Yeah. So you're saying just he prefers non-spoken. Particularly, it takes a little bit more work in terms of finessing and everything because you have to get everything through the visual language. But for him, it's really important because those bits that have to be kind of worked out because you don't have the expression of language are a space where the audience can imagine their own story, and then that gains a kind of life of their own where, yeah, we have the story we work from, which is the basis for our work, but then the story becomes something else in the eyes of the beholder and becomes something else with the audience. And that's the enjoyment in non-verbality.
No, I totally agree. I mean, that was the thing again with Alison, Dr. Maker, was just you make a puppet that has one expression, but that one expression can cry, it can be happy, it can be all different emotions, and I think that's always quite amazing. Yeah. And it's that's the design part, really, that you can make a face or make an expression that then can take all the expressions.
Yeah.
We could continue.
Brilliant talking to you both. No, it really is. I sort of just want to be there in that little forest and with those little people. I think that was just great.
Yeah, we all want to come. We all want to come and dance in the forest. We will. But we will. So thank you so much. So firstly, thank you to Joe for your language support. That was absolutely that. And thank you to Sean for hosting such an interesting discussion. But most of all, thank you to Argenis and Marisia and Ahau Marionettes, and lots of love for you on the chat. Lots and lots. So we have Sophia, we have Jet Propelled, we have Ricardo, and other people coming through, how much they've enjoyed the show, how much they enjoyed the conversation. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for opening the festival with the such a beautiful piece of work. And yeah, we will hopefully see you in real life at some point in the future.
Yeah, hope so.
So,
Of course.
Exactly.
More puppets.
thank you.
Goodbye, everyone. Stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.